the seagulls. Follow the shore. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
And as we say now in my country, they brought the bus and they left the bus in front of the goal.
And the guy's talking absolute nonsense. Never heard so much rubbish in my life.
Normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
I'm telling you, don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Good morning. Welcome to another dignified Sunday Blether.
Yeah.
Phil, we were given that nickname last week and I quite liked it. It's a dignified show. It's a nice Sunday brunch time show where we get to sit down and analyse what's been going on in the world of Celtic and this very dignified setting that we have. We normally have Mark and Regan with us. I think Regan is somewhere lurking around in the background.
Regan's a rock star. He does what he wants.
Just turns up when fashionably late. You know, that's what he wants.
During the intro, I saw below what the viewers can't see on StreamYard. There's little screens at the bottom that tell us who's in the studio. He did appear during the intro and he's disconnected again. So he's around somewhere. He will appear at some point.
Yeah, he's getting his suit and tie on for the dignified hour that is about to be thrust upon our dignified viewers.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Now, I've got a quick story to tell, Phil.
Okay.
For the past year, right, there's just been this guy and he's been giving me grief and he's been picking fights with me and he's been slapping me around, to be honest. He's been beating absolute lumps out of me, right? This has happened on 3 separate occasions. I'm just getting battered, slapped a bit. There's nothing I can do. No matter what I do, he just gets the better of me every time. Well, I seen him the other day. Had his hands tied behind his back, and he was actually blindfolded. Well, I gave him a good bobby flick, and I ran for the hills. So I guess you could say I've got bragging rights over him for the until next time that I see him.
Oh, really? That's a very dignified way you dealt with that situation there, David.
Yes, I've got the bragging rights over a guy that's been kicking shit out of me for the last year. Of course, that's not actually what's been happening. That's a total fabrication, an absolute lie that I've just told on the bus. But I think we all know what I'm getting at yesterday, because apparently we've lost all bragging rights. I'm going to go and cry into the big, massive trophy that we've picked up, and maybe... another one's on the way. Oh wait, and there's another one. We've got 2 to cry into at the moment while we deal with this bragging rights that are on the other side of the city. But
yes,
there's
Regan there.
And here is Regan. Regan, just in time to hear about all that good stuff, my man. So before we get the introductions of you, I'm just going to quickly fire this out the way. Okay, so guys, if you like what the bus does, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Give it a wee share. Tell your friends. Tell your granny. Tell whoever.
I'll tell mine.
You tell your granny. You can. And make sure if you want to help the bus a little bit more, you can become a Bhoycie Bus member for a little fee of £1.99 a month. It's totally optional. All the content is free. It just helps the bus keep moving along. Big shout out to our sponsors at piesports.com. Get into the into those tasty pies, and you can do that with a little bit of a discount of 12.5% off by just putting in bus 1888 into the wee bit at the bottom there. And of course, we have another sponsor, ED Pharmacy. What was it you said the other day, Phil? Don't be a Brichter and be a Maeda. You could be up all
Don't
night.
be a Derek Brichter, something that breaks down and doesn't work as it should. Be a guys in Maeda who can go all night.
And listen, and the best thing about Maeda is you might not be very good, but you'll keep going and going and going. So listen, you don't need to be that good as long as you can keep going. That's what ED Pharmacy are promising. So
Indeed.
if you're around Central Scotland, they offer free same-day delivery service 7 days a week. And for the rest of the UK, they aim for next-day delivery. Order cut-off time is 6 p.m. There's no hidden fees. The prices that you see are the prices that you pay. Unless you're a Bhoycie Bus listener and viewer, it's you can use the promo code of BUS10 and you'll get a nice wee 10% off the price when you pay at the on the other end, and you might even get an extra 10% longer.
Right, Taylor, telling us
you
more than we need to know there. I mean, Ryan, it's your gift if you want to admit that, but fair play, mate. You can head over to ED Pharmacy, mate. They'll sort you out. There you go.
Regan, how are you doing? You're late to the party, mate. Yeah, this is a dignified show. You're meant to be on time.
David, I'm doing well, mate. I'm sorry that I did dirty on you last night. I was on PMP, David. It's great to be here. I've never been on PMP before. So
as long as you had your ED Pharmacy, did it go on for 2 hours? You
I
needed
did.
ED Pharmacy for a post-match
Aye.
show. And was it Steve that was on as well?
Steve as well, aye.
Excellent. Steve was he's quite the host, mate. I better watch it. He's going to be taking my.
He's good. He is good.
Quite enough for it, of course. Right, what we got to talk about today? Well, of course, we can have our thoughts on the game. I know, Regan, you had your thoughts on it yesterday, but I'll be honest, I haven't heard them yet, so I'll be getting your thoughts again. We can get a brief recap of your thoughts, and of course, Phil, you were on post-match piss, so we'll get your thoughts on the game. A meaningless derby game? Is there such a thing? Manager of the Year candidates. Angie's got some competition, maybe some stiff competition if they've been at ED Pharmacy. And of course, we can look at the squad depth. Is it as deep as we really think? And a talking point that Regan brought up that I thought will be definitely worth sinking our teeth into. Fans at Celtic Park will be able to buy a pint. So let's get talking. Phil, wasn't the result that we all wanted yesterday. However, listen, this is my thoughts on it. I'll just quickly tell you what my thoughts are on the game, Phil, just quickly, right? So I managed to watch the game at work yesterday. Just sat through the back and watched it on the iPad. And I struggled to find myself bothered at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was watching, as every goal went past Joe Hart yesterday, right? I didn't feel annoyed. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel upset. It was just strange. And I was sitting through the back where a colleague of mine who's a Rangers fan didn't declare that when I gave him the job, by the way.
All right, okay.
Not that I would. I'm only joking. Not that I would make that any reason not to give anybody a job. We have a lot of banter when he's in the shop. But he was gloating yesterday, as you'd imagine that he would, and I couldn't even find myself to bite back. There was no reason to. I just felt a bit meh. I almost felt a bit numb.
Yeah.
No game against them is meaningless to me. And I almost feel like yesterday's loss and calling it meaningless was almost a bit of a crutch to lean on, when in reality we got a spanking yesterday.
Yep.
And of course that wasn't our strongest 11. And if it was the game, if it was a game that the title was still on the line, I'm talking as if I'm watching WWE here. If the title was on the line, I don't believe the game plays out the way that it did yesterday. We certainly didn't have that starting 11, and I think there would have been a bit more urgency amongst our players. Now that can be seen as a bit of an excuse. It could even be considered a bit short-sighted, maybe even arrogant, too casual of Ange to field that team. But on the flip side, here is an opportunity to see if the so-called strong bench, full of depth, is up to it. And to put it bluntly, guys, I don't think that they are.
Nope.
Really, are you giving a free hit and a pass to play? Rangers, I could almost understand they give the usual starters a pass on their casual, sort of half-arsed performance yesterday. But the likes of Barnaby, Kobayashi, they're given a rare opportunity to impress yesterday. They're getting a free pass, and then in no other position would we be in to be like, we're going to not play our starting strongest team against them. And they got to do that yesterday, and I feel like that was their rehearsal for next season, to show Ange that, look, I am more than capable of pushing Starfelt and CCV or Greg Taylor or Kyogo to be in the starting 11 next year, playing against our rivals. And they didn't do it yesterday. I missed the first 20 minutes. I didn't see the O chance that hit the post.
It was unlucky.
I still believe that he's got a bright future at Celtic. I'm starting to struggle to defend Barnaby. I think he looks like a lost dog out there. Doesn't know what he's meant to be doing, where he's meant to be. It's quite damning yesterday that he lost the ball. He had 100 touches yesterday and he lost the ball 28 times. 28 times and 100 touches.
Quite a lot.
It's quite a lot. I felt that he's really kind of shown Ange that we need to be looking at another another left back. I also think Kobayashi yesterday, still obviously finding his feet. He worried a few of our fans against Hearts. I tried to brush that off personally and think, well, difficult place to go. The Hearts started well, but and maybe just a bit of nerves. It was a good warm-up to play against Rangers, and Kobayashi, looking at his performance yesterday, he's there to try and really impress. This is the guy it's a left-sided centre-back that we've been desperately needing. This guy's surely going to be better than Starfelt. Well, it was 11 duels he lost possession. Out of the 11 duels, he only won 4 of them. And he lost the possession. He lost possession on 18 occasions. Now, Phil, I know your feelings on Starfelt. You think he gets a raw end to the deal when he plays in that position. If that's Starfelt and he's losing 4 out of his 11 duels and giving the ball away on 18 occasions, I think he's looking to be hung, drawn, and quartered by some of our fans. The Starfelt stats, we've used them in the past to try and big up his performances, and a lot of the time I could be criticised and say, well, yeah, he may be the best passer in the team, but he's literally only passing to Greg Taylor, Cameron Carter-Vickers, or Callum McGregor. Well, isn't that what Kobayashi was doing yesterday? Either passing to Callum McGregor, passing to Barnaby, who's God knows where, or passing to Starfelt, who was on his right-hand side, and he lost possession of the ball 18 times.
Jesus.
It's a bit damning, isn't it? I just overall, guys, is yes, game didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things on the result, but it showed me and probably a lot of the fans that we've, maybe Ange's got a bit of work to do in the summer. But that's my view.
Yeah,
might be harsh. I don't know. You guys can tell me in the comments if I'm talking utter pish. That's what you guys are there for.
It's all subjective, David. There's no right or wrong answers.
Yep. But Phil, what is your view on the game yesterday? How did you feel about it?
I've got a bit of a similar mindset to you when I was watching it. It was just a sort of, I don't know, just sort of an apathy where I was even angry at, seeing them, celebrating and knowing the tidal wave of media praise that's going to be coming. Because I've seen this before. You know, they blow their load early quite a lot. I hope they went to ED Pharmacy for that one beforehand. But yes, they do tend to blow their load and get excited a bit too much. And I've seen it before, and it doesn't work for them. So I'm just like, whatever. What I'm more annoyed about is how we played. That's what annoyed me more. But it was just like, I think for a fan point of view, it's okay to have that sort of attitude of, I'm not too bothered of what really how this goes today because of the situation in the league. But the players should never go in with that attitude. But they phoned it, a few of them phoned it in yesterday. I mean, forget about next season and letting Ange know for, you know, what they can do next season. There's a massive cup final coming up in a few weeks. Yep. This is a huge chance for some of these players to get in there, to have that on their CV, to get that showpiece match. You know, they could have put a real marker down yesterday. Some of them with a great performance there and maybe keep them selling the team for the next few weeks, to the point where cup final day rolls around and Ange is like, I need to strongly consider this guy now. You know, he's gave me some food for thought for the last month, but none of them did. They were just off. I mean, now with Rouse and Kobayashi, we've got to remember that they were enforced changes due to injury, because people have been going on about how, Ange made 5 changes. Well, 2 of them were enforced because of injury to Johnston and to Carter Vickers. The decision to play O, obviously, he's threw him in there. So he's unlucky. It's one of those, see if that ball was just a couple more inches to the right and it goes in. You know, goals change games. You know, we could be sitting here talking about something completely different. He does the right thing. People are saying he should have just put his laces through it. I don't know. I think McCrory might have saved it if he just sort of lashed at it. He was right to sort of like just wait till McCrory went to ground and he just chipped it over him very delicately. And yeah, it hits the base of the post and goes out for, I think he came back into play and Rangers cleared it. I can't remember exactly how it went, but yeah, he hits the post. He's unlucky. But yeah, that one was, it is what it is. It's one of the unlucky chances. But overall, yeah, it didn't. Obviously, the player's going. Bernabei is a weird one again. I feel like he is a player that probably started his career playing in a more advanced role, because it's got to the point where I'm like, at what point in your career did you become a defender, a left back, a left wing back? Because your first job, first and foremost, is to defend. And you seem to be lost most of the time, and your instinct is always to go forward with the ball, and he seems quite erratic. So that one is a bit bizarre. But I think before we came on, we were obviously talking about that. Same when it comes to an Argentinian, if you're a defender, what was it you said, David, about those?
If you're from Argentina and you're playing in defence, you just weren't good enough to be a winger or an attacker, because nobody in Argentina grows up wanting to be a defender. None of them. Not a single one of them goes, I definitely want to be a centre half and a left wing back when I'm older. Love watching Messi, but love a tackle me. You know? No, they don't. No, they don't. Listen, mate, you're no good enough. You're going to have to play. Like, we need to put you somewhere. You're going to. It's either goals or left back. Pick one.
Too short to be a goalkeeper, so left back it is.
Aye, absolutely. Regan, the viewpoint from across the city is that, you know, they're absolutely buzzing, and fair enough, they've got the bragging rights for the summer, so they're going to be buzzing. But does that play into our favour a little now? You know, that's I think, did you not put in the group chat this morning that the experts of football, Bosnian media, were praising Michael Beale, the tactician that he is, that he finally slayed the monster that is Ange Postecoglou in Celtic. Yeah, does that then give a perspective that, we're not as far away as they make out. We're actually just behind them. Look, we absolutely scudded them at home yesterday in front of just our fans when the team weren't really, when the league's already over. Does that then, do they go, see, everyone's fine at Rangers, and then they maybe take the eye off the ball? Does that work in our favour, that result yesterday, in the long run? Not to mention Ange will clearly go, right, we need to shake it up a little bit here.
It probably does, because at the end of the day, those guys have won the Michael Beale trophy, so they'll be happy with that this season. And Ilya Baba can say that they've won the bragging rights, but I think she's forgetting that Celtic have won the last 5 derbies, and they've won a semi-final and a final, and they've also won the majority of the football games this season. That's why they're 10 points ahead. So I think there's been a bit of loss of perspective, because I'm not being disrespectful, but I'm telling you right now, Greg Taylor, Kyogo, Abada wouldn't be playing if we are going for the title in that game. It's just not happening. And I'm going to make a wee prediction as well. I don't know if Stephen Welsh might play in the Scottish Cup final because I'm starting to lose a bit of faith in Kobayashi. And I think Ange might be as well because Stephen Welsh has actually done okay. And I think about it, we're actually playing a championship side. Now, I'm just not sure with the two outings that I've seen of Kobayashi. I'm not too sure whether he's up to the standard of being very physical in the Scottish football. Whereas Stephen Welsh is brought up here, he's been here. Know that he's a great defender. Remember I said on the show that he's a Coatbridge Rio Ferdinand. So I don't think he's up to that standard. But I mean, if you look at Stephen Welsh, he knows Scottish football. He knows the physicality. I don't know if Kobayashi will be an option for the Scottish Cup final because if you look at Inverness, David and Phil, right? Inverness are going to do the exact thing that Rangers did yesterday. Rangers' second goal, it comes off of a set piece. That's what Inverness will be trying to do. They want Kobayashi to be sleeping and then to get a set piece. That's what they want to happen. They're not going to play lovely football, play Barcelona tiki-taka and get through Celtic. They're going to play free kicks, corners and throw-ins to do their best. So I just think that Kobayashi, I don't think he'll play the cup final, and I think if he does, it's a big disappointment.
I think he will. I think he will, Regan. I think he'll play him. I mean, and listen, I don't want this to come across like this is totally blown out of proportion. Like, guys, we know this yesterday. Even before the game kicked off, I had not even a weird feeling. I had a bit of a feeling that we'd probably lose yesterday.
Me as well, actually.
I said to a few of the guys, I think they'll probably win tomorrow. But my point I'm making here is just. I don't think they're not good enough. I just think that they missed their chance yesterday of really staking a claim to be a starter next year. I think that's what the purpose of yesterday was. There was a lot of changes yesterday. Personally, I think if you're going to make that many changes, I would have liked to have seen Awata be back in the team. I think he brings a bit of steel and a bit of calmness yesterday. I don't think I even felt like if you're going to be resting Kyogo in that for the cup final, why are you not resting Hatate? If it was a bit of a dead drop, if it wasn't Ange's mind, and he'll never see it, that it's a dead drop, but it doesn't matter. I want to just see what the other boys can do. Then rest Hatate and play Awata. We managed to go 6 games without him already. Then
David, I think one of the interesting things that you mentioned there as well, though, that Kobayashi misplaced a pass on 20 occasions, I think you said. So that's not going to do Ange very well. Say if Starfield or Vickers is not able to play the Champions League. I mean, Kobayashi is not going to do very well. I mean, if he's losing the ball 20 times against a poor Rangers side, what is he going to lose against a very good Real Madrid side? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good point. Because the teams are going to play in that Champions League next season. It's going to be pretty scary. They're definitely going to need some better reinforcements in the summer to go into that. We can't be making the type of mistakes yesterday, or else 3-0. It will be 3-0 against the top Champions League team. It'll be a lot more than that. Oh God, I'm getting visions of that Paris Saint-Germain game from a few years back at home where they beat us 5-0 and 7-1 away. It's like, oh no, thank you, please. Yeah, it wasn't fun at all.
No, I don't want another repeat of that. But no, I think there's a few comments here saying that obviously Ange is maybe sending a message to the board, and just letting them know, like, look, we definitely need to be strengthening in the summer, and these are the positions that we probably do need to do that. I think Patrick McLaughlin feels that we've maybe that not just us personally, but maybe it's a little bit harsh on Barnaby, etc. When Conor McGregor, McGregor, O'Reilly, Jota, and Abada never done anything either as well. I think those boys have got a wee bit more credit in the bank, though. Like I said, it doesn't excuse their performance. Yes, they were all off the mark yesterday, and maybe it does come across that we're being a bit harsh and singling out the likes of Barnaby and that, but they were the boys that were there they were given the opportunity yesterday to impress, and unfortunately they didn't. But I think the summer will be an interesting one. Not even for us looking to bring in players, guys, but like the likes of Kobayashi. Maybe we've seen what he's good at just now and where he needs to improve. Well, that's what the summer time off will be for. Kobayashi might need to start hitting the gym and bulking up a little bit, and just starting to understand that it's a little bit rougher in the Scottish League than it is in Japan. But that's we'll see what that brings.
We will indeed. Although, just quickly before we move on, I think we need to quickly touch on the quite bizarre comment at the end of the broadcast yesterday by one Ailey Barber, where she made the comment about the title maybe going to Celtic, but the bragging rights will stay at Ibrox for the summer. And I mean, people have been losing their mind over it, and rightfully so, to be fair. I mean, I don't know if she's came out with that line or that's one that's been sort of like fed to her by the producers to say that. I don't know. But I mean, think back to, I talked about this season quite recently on Bustalgia. We talked about the dreaded Tony Mowbray season. And quite astoundingly, at the end of that season, when you looked at the league table, Celtic were 6 points behind, which we as fans know it didn't feel like that. But amazingly, that's how it finished that season. We were 6 points behind them. But we beat them in the last game that season after they'd already won the title. And I don't remember the media giving it all, Celtic will have the bragging rights this summer. Walter Smith's going to have to be wary of Neil Lennon this summer and all that stuff. And it's just like, it's so weird that we're now finding ourselves in a position where they've essentially done the same thing that we did back in 2010. And it's all like, bragging rights and, he's got the better of it. Just the hype job around it is just so odd. I just can't get my head around why that's happening when you can point to examples from years ago where it's like, well, we never got that treatment, all those years ago. So just a strange moment yesterday, end the show, and that I was like, where did that come from? And rightfully, many people across the internet and across Twitter are panning her for that one. Mental comment.
Phil, I think the only way to really, find out what we as fans would rather have, I think we need a Phil Bustalgia style poll. Do you guys want a potential treble, or would you rather have bragging rights for the summer? I think we need to find
I don't think we need a poll for that one at all.
Get a poll in there.
Get a poll in there. We want to know what you'd rather have. Would you rather have bragging rights, or would you rather have titles? You let us know.
I think we know. I think we know the answer there. But yeah, mental comment, and yeah, just one of them moments where you hear it and you're like, did she just say what I think she just said? Like, really? Are you saying that with a straight face? Honestly?
And I think the thing for her as well is that she's there to promote Scottish football. So I think that probably the reason why she's doing it is to try and drum up some interest. But I think if she looks at herself and she says Celtic actually won 4 league games, 1 draw and 1 defeat, I'm sure. And there was also a semi-final, which we took the victory in as well. So I think when you look at the big matches, Celtic have won them. So that's the only thing we can say. And I think in terms of Rangers, it probably is a good building block for them. But I mean, it's okay doing building blocks when you've already lost the league by 10 points and lost a semi-final.
No, you're definitely you're definitely right on that. It's just going to be a wee. As I said earlier on, they've had habits in the past getting a bit too excited with these types of things. 2019, they beat us in the last meeting of the season, and then gloated all over their Twitter account about Glasgow's blue. And then on the day that Neil Lennon was announced as Celtic manager, they put the wee Scott Arfield gif up where we caption saying who's excited about next season already, which was deliberately timed. And then Celtic would go on and win the treble the next season, so they shouldn't get too far ahead of themselves with that one. But let them have their
I think it was Steve-O that mentioned it in the group chat yesterday. He says it was very close to the Steven Gerrard victory in 2019, where Rangers won 2-0. Celtic already won the league by 10 points. I think that probably is true, where Celtic took their foot off the gas. I think Mikey Johnson played up front that day as well, and when Brendan Rodgers was in charge. So I think it's just sometimes we need to get a bit of a reality check as well, David, because sometimes, as much as we want the players to put their all into it, I mean, 3 of us have already said when Rangers were scoring yesterday, sometimes it wasn't as bad as we actually thought. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously that transfers to the players. I think Terry said it last night as well. Maybe they've been out doing things all week. Maybe they've been partying or doing media stuff. So you just don't know what they've been doing all week.
I'm laughing at Brown Warrior. He's funny, man. The comment I was going to bring up, Brown Warrior, he said that yesterday was a time. I know I'm kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, but I just thought it was quite interesting. Yesterday was the same. Yesterday was a time to alter the shape in midfield, try out Iwata and McGregor as a double pivot, maybe even go back to a back three with wing backs. Single out Ange and his refusal to change it. I mean, he makes a point. I would have maybe been, if you're going to experiment with your lineup, you could have maybe experimented with your position. I think he's just made it pretty clear that he has no interest in changing his formation and his style of play. I think we're just going to have to get on board. I mean, I think we are on board with that. Brown Warrior, I think he's not going to be changing that anytime soon. He's saying you're off touchy about a throwaway line which is used every derby game around the world. Fuck's sake.
Well, I mean, I just said it was 2010. I don't remember a media sort of hype around Neil Lennon having bragging rights that summer. I don't remember that at all. So, yeah, it's very selective, I think, when they want to bring that line out.
Yes.
But yeah, whatever. I say let them have their 3 points in that one. So if we're going to win the treble,
it's to be expected.
Of course.
Nobody
We should be
cares, really.
surprised by the media in this country.
No, absolutely not.
No.
I do wonder if she did actually. That was her line, or she was to read that one. But we shall never know. Right, guys, let's move on. We've spent enough time talking about yesterday's game. We could look at the squad depth. I think we've kind of analysed a fair bit of that already in terms of what we've seen. We're starting to see the usual transfer rumour mill already starting, where our media's been well off the mark. Well off the mark. That's my impression of Ange. I do apologise. It's offended anyone from Australia that does watch. Or Ange himself, because we all know that he watches the bus. I mean, if King Kenny was on the bus, then of course everybody tuned in, including
morning, Big Ange, morning.
Yep.
So, do we need to look for more competition for the likes of Kyogo and, of course, the likes of centre back and left back Regan? Is there anyone in particular that you feel needs a bit more competition, like that's going to not just sit on that bench and be, used sporadically, but somebody that's really going to question: is Kyogo going to start tomorrow? Because such and such is really, he's a player. He's we spent big money on that boy. How do you not play that? Is there a position out there that you want to see really become real depth? That's real depth in our squad.
Well, David, I think you'd be a great point. Now, I get you in full opinions, right? I think any top club should have at least 3 or 4 strikers, and the fact we've only got 2 at the moment, and I think the fact that is still very young is very, very, very disappointing for me, to be honest, because I think he's Celtic teams in the past, even with Lee Griffiths, Dembele and Edward, I think of John Hartson, Sutton and Henrik, and then you go back even further where you've got Jan Vinagura Heslink, Scott McDonald. You get real competition there for places. And you think to yourself, Kyogo knows every single week that he starts. And I know that we mentioned it last Sunday, or is very happy to sit on the bench and just pop on with 20 minutes to go. But see, at the end of the day, that's no good competition for the club. Even if you look at Aberdeen this season, Motherwell, they've all got 3 or 4 strikers. So why are we pretending to ourselves that 2 strikers is enough? Because players will not be happy. If players are not happy to be here, sell them. Tell them to go. Because I don't think is up for it. That's okay when you're 4-0 up to Ross County when O comes on and scores a great goal, or Abada comes on. See, at the end of the day, see if the players are not up to it. We need it to be reality and say Celtic need to improve in all areas, because as much as we don't think Rangers are creeping up there, Rangers this season have had 3 strikers, so why shouldn't we? And I think the whole point of going into a Champions League campaign is so that you're able. So when you're playing on the Tuesday against Real Madrid, you can then rest a Kyogo against a Ross County at Celtic Park. But I wouldn't be confident with playing the majority of the season in the SPL, because I think even when I've seen him, he's very raw.
Yeah.
I think we need somebody else in there to steady the ship, because as much as I want to see Kyogo in the Champions League, I then don't want to see him playing 90 minutes against Motherwell when we've got a Champions League tie against Manchester City the following week. I would like to see Kyogo be rested, because I said this last night. I mean, what happens next season if we play Aberdeen and Kyogo gets a 6-month time when he's injured? David, I'm sure David, I'm sure you and Phil would be happy to admit that you wouldn't be happy with being the Celtic main striker for 6 months.
See, I don't really know about that. I don't really know about that, Phil. Regan, I don't know if I can answer that, because I do feel that there is something there with and until a situation like that occurs, we're not going to really see get a run of starts. I do agree with you that I do feel that we definitely need another striker there, because if something did happen to Kyogo, he's out for 6 months, I wouldn't be happy with being the only striker.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I wouldn't be happy on being the only striker, the only option. But I certainly don't feel too uncomfortable about seeing him. I want to see him just start for the rest. Maybe not the cup final, obviously, but I'd like to see him start the rest of the games, because I want to see him get a run of games. I do want to see, because I do believe that he's full of confidence. He's got plenty of confidence in himself to be the main guy. I think he just needs to get that real opportunity to do that. The other thing that you mentioned about he's quite just happy sitting on the bench, I don't think he's quite happy. I think he's biding his time. I think he's being respectful of the fact that he knows that Kyogo is miles clear of him in the pecking order.
Yeah,
but I think he's just sitting there being patient, and he'll pick his moment. And if it gets to the point where, here, listen, if he starts doing Yakimakis and he gets brought off the bench and he makes a real impact in more games, and the occasional start and scores in those games, and Kyogo goes in a little drought of scoring, I think you'll then say, like, right, Ange, come on. Like, I don't think you'll be happy to sit on the bench, but I think he's been maybe a little respectful and aware of his position in the pecking order is at the moment. Phil, is there anybody in particular, or not anybody, because you could pick anybody out there in world football that you'd like to see? Is there any position that you feel that's really where we need some real quality? Like, because Ange, that whole well off the mark comment, somebody also said it in the chat there, that they're pulling that Ito, a guy who's just been playing in the second division in Japan, not the first division. I think they've got promoted, and he's been a bit of maybe a standout in that league.
Yeah,
and that's maybe like they're just kind of like, hey, that guy, that's who's definitely going to go for. And Ange kind of almost, but the way he said it, you're like, sounds like you've got a big money move there. Like you're like, I'm not buying a boy that's going to probably cost 500k this year. I'm looking at a 5 million plus player at least. That's kind of that. It was almost like a smug, like, you've got no clue who I'm.
Yeah.
Is there a position that you think that kind of money needs to be spent on to really have a good go in Europe next year?
I think as you say, there's so many you could pick. Definitely striker is a position we do need to add.
Yes.
I agree with what you're saying there. David, where you said if O was having a prolonged run in the team, that's fine. But the problem is if he's having a bad day in front of goal and you need to look to the bench and the only two strikers we've got in the squad are Kyogo and and Kyogo's injured, it's like, what then? So we probably do need a third option, a decent option that can come in and get goals at SPL level and can even, cause some problems for teams in Europe. We definitely need to look at another striker just for a bit of depth there, without a shadow of a doubt.
Phil, do you agree with this comment, though? Do you agree with this? Our supply to O needs to improve, to be honest. That's from Brian McGarry. I totally agree with that, by the way. I do find, I've said it a few times, that the sometimes O is looking for that pass that's there, and it just goes out wide almost out of habit, and then the cross isn't, the likes of, like we've seen Maeda's crosses, 9 times out of 10, they're all over the shop when he has to think about it. And I think, I totally agree. I think his supply, a striker needs a good, somebody supplying the assists, and I don't think he's getting it as much as he could be. And do you agree with what Brian's saying there?
I definitely think we could. The thing is, well, do we need to adapt more to O's style of play? Maybe the team are just so conditioned to Kyogo. We play a lot of balls that zip across the box, which Kyogo sometimes we get on the end of. Sometimes he just misses them. Maeda might come in at the back post, get it, or Abada comes in at the back post. But O seems to be there you go, he's a different player from Kyogo. Remember, there was a goal that we scored a few weeks ago up at Ross County, even though O didn't score it, but how we played it was just a big long ball up the park to him. He controlled it. Obviously, the goal that came out, it was just a bit of control that he did. But again, it's like playing to his strengths. I just think the team just maybe aren't used to him yet, and it's just a case of they've just got to get conditioned.
His goal against Hearts was very Kyogo-esque. It's totally understanding that Ange needs O to adapt to the team style of play, but there's got to be a compromise. There's got to be, you've bought this boy for his attributes that he brings, then you've got to play to that strength as well. You can't just fully go, I really like the way you play, you're really strong, you've got a great touch, you can turn a man when you're back to go, yada yada, but I need you to do what Kyogo does. Nick, well, I'm no Kyogo, but you're gonna have to be, Like, it's like there's got to be a balancing act, and you're totally right. I think we need to see Celtic and his teammates adapt slightly to how we're going to play when O's the man up front.
Aye, I would say so, because it's a two-way thing, isn't it? It definitely needs to be. I think midfield's probably an option that we need to look to improve a bit as well. We've seen this season when Hatate was out the team for that 7-8 weeks, whatever it was. There was definitely a drop in the pace that we played through the midfield. There's been certain combinations together that just don't seem to complement each other. I believe it's when Moy plays with O'Reilly in the team, seems to be a bit slow. Turnbull can slow it down a wee bit when he comes on. I think Turnbull's a useful squad player, but as a starter these days, I think the team's evolved. But he's useful to bring off the bench from time to time. But we definitely need to look for an improvement. I think Moy, he's shown at points this season when he is at peak fitness, he is very, very important to the team. But when he came back off that very short injury there, it looks like he's regressed massively. And you got to keep in mind with his age now, he can't be expected to play 50 games a season and stuff like that. So we're going to need more options than if we've only got like Turnbull and Moy to turn to and rotate in. We'll definitely need more than that, without a doubt. And centre back is a must. Because if Carter Vickers is obviously, Ange just said that Carter Vickers will be back in time for the start of the season, but he's still going to need a few games to get up to speed. So you're going to need another option, even if somebody just brought in on loan just to sort of cover, just to maybe even the January window, just as an option there. Like what we did with Jens, where you had like a centre back that was there, could come in. He wasn't committed, we didn't pay money for him. We just brought him in as a loan. Because at the moment you're looking at starting the season with Starfelt and Kobayashi. Would Welsh still be there as an option? I don't know. Maybe Welsh's time's up at the club. But if Carter Vickers is not fully back fit for like the first month of the season, then you're going to need another option there to definitely bring in and rotate out. Because again, if one of the two gets injured, Kobayashi or Starfelt, and we do let Welsh go, for example, then what are you looking at? Boston Lawwell coming in from the B team? That's what we're staring at there. So it's like, does Ange want to really do that? Champions League starting in September? It's a big risk. So I'd say centre-backs are one that we need to look at as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to ask you guys a question now. Who do you think will go? Who do you think will go?
I think Abada. I'm pretty convinced. I know they're saying Abada's happy at Celtic, but I think Abada goes, and I think Turnbull is away as well. They're the ones that I'm pretty confident will probably leave. I'm ignoring any discussion that Hatate might be leaving. I'm just refused to listen to that.
Yep.
I'm not listening to that. He might, but I personally don't think he will. I don't think he goes. There's also talk of Crystal Palace interested in Kyogo. I don't see that happening either.
No way Roy Hodgson. There for one more year.
Oh, that's right. He's probably going to be there the full time now, isn't he?
Surely not. Is he?
Well, he's brought into the end of the season there, and he's done well. So the likelihood is he'll probably be the manager next season. Wonder how odds will go up under that one.
Well, I don't see Kyogo leave. I actually personally don't. I think Ange is going to be quite clever in who he lets go. The ones that he thinks he'll get a decent bit of profit for, that he can improve on in those positions without really affecting the core. You know, if he really wants to go at Europe, he needs to keep the best players at the club that we have and improve on the players that he's willing to let go. And I don't think Tati's a player, or Kyogo's a player that he'll be willing to let go. But then there's stranger things have happened. But no, what about you, Phil? Do you think?
I think, I mean, there's no point in going through the sort of like, periphery, the first team, the guys that are on the sort of outside looking in, the first team players. Like Abada, he's had enough first team games this season to count in the first team. He's most likely, I would say. And you're right, there has been some stories recently that he's dead happy, and obviously he was looking pretty happy last week during the title celebrations at Tynecastle and that, but that can mean nothing. There's definitely a point now where Celtic need to strike if they want to get a profit on Abada, because he's still at that right age and point in his career where they can make a decent profit. So it may be a case of Celtic will look at that. I mean, have we struggled massively when Abada's been out the team this season? He's came in, he's played well at times, he's had some bad games as well, but has he been a massive loss when he's not been in the team? I wouldn't say it would be a huge blow as long as we replace, if the money comes in and we can replace suitably. And I trust Ange can do that because he's got a good track record so far and he's got plenty in his network for transfers. So I would trust him to find somebody to take Abada's place within the squad. So I'd say that's probably the most likely one out of players that are in and around the first team. So your guys like your James McCarthy's and stuff like that, there's no point in really debating them. They're what really use are they anymore to the club. And then in terms of other first teamers, as long as we keep Hatate, Carter Vickers, and Kyogo, that spine running up the team, that is like a vital part of the team. We don't lose those guys, then I can see Ange adding a few strong hands around that to improve it.
Yeah, that your source is coming in there, Regan, is it? The Abada, I was talking to a guy yesterday about Abada, and it's one of the weird ones because I think, is he not our second highest goal scorer this year? And I'm sitting there trying to justify why I could see him leaving, and it's I know he's our second top goal scorer, but I need him to do more than just score goals. And it sounds so stupid when you say it out loud, but I do want more from a winger in terms of creating chances as well. But I mean, it's hard to argue when he pops up at the back post and taps it in or smashes it in.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we're going to move on because we're running out of time here, and I want to there's a few things I want to go through. So let's have a look quickly at the PFA Manager of the Year nominees. Okay, there's a 4-man shortlist revealed, and of course the first one up is our leader, Ange Postecoglou, which was obviously to be expected. He's back-to-back league titles. And looks like we're going to be getting good. We're on course for a treble, so of course he's going to be in the shortlist. I think Mark had called this right before it was announced. Stephen Robinson, up until yesterday, he was the only manager to beat Celtic domestically this season, and he's also been put forward for the award after leading St Mirren into the top 6. It's the Buddies' highest top flight finish since 1984-85 season, and the Paisley Club still have an outside chance of finishing in a European place. So I can see why he's being in the nomination list there. James McPake at Dunfermline. He won the league at the first time of asking. Biggest point tally in their club's history. They're 14 points clear of their rivals Falkirk, and they've got the lowest amount of goals conceded in one season, most clean sheets in a season, and the best defensive record in Britain with only one loss. Quite, I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Good.
Stirling Albion's League 2 title winning boss Darren Young has also earned the recognition. They clinched promotion to Scotland's third tier. So that's your short list. Is there any? Obviously, we're all going to pick Ange Postecoglou.
Yep.
But is there anyone there that is going to give that's really going to give Ange a run for his money for that? I personally, I think James McPake is in for a shout after reading their accomplishments. Yes, it was the was it League second division?
They're in League 1, the third tier. But keep in mind that all their opponents are all relative to them. So
So I think he's in for a shout for it. To be honest, if they're not going to give it to Ange, I think Mark was pretty. He was pretty confident that they're probably going to give it to Stephen Robinson. Just if they're not going to give it to Ange, that's who they'll give it to. But I think James McPake's right up there. If it's not Ange, I think good chance it could be him. But what's your thoughts on that, Regan? What's your thoughts on that shortlist?
I think James McPake is probably the second best shout. But like you said, I know people are saying Stephen Robinson because he's beat Celtic this season, but I think if you watch his teams, they're not very good to watch either. But like we spoke about earlier, it's the first time since 1990 they've got in the top 6. So I think he's a good shout. But if it was me, I'd be picking Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah.
Obviously, the argument's always going to be, it's easy to be Ange. He's got the most money in the league, and yada yada yada. Of course, we've all seen that spending lots and lots of money doesn't guarantee you titles. I'm looking at you, Chelsea.
That's a lot they've spent. A lot. But no, right. Ange is definitely the standout there. There's no other candidate. See, the thing with the media, how they stuff things up and plant ideas. So you wouldn't be surprised. I know as Mark said that a few weeks ago, they'll start planting seeds in the papers about suggesting this guy and that guy. See, Stephen Robinson's the one that came to my mind. I know that they'll start pushing. Because, see, realistically, though, St Mirren finishing the top 6, what realistically has it got them? An extra game against Celtic and Rangers? That's essentially all they've achieved. But people will go, well, look at the resources he's got to get them there. But again, what's he really got? If he got them into Europe, he finished third. I remember at one point St Mirren were third. And they were sitting they were sitting there like, fighting with Hearts for third place. I mean, maybe if he'd done that. But, I mean, if he gets in the top 6, gets an extra game against both Celtic and Rangers and finishes 6th, nobody cares, It's going to be Ange Postecoglou every day of the week on this one. No problem at all. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair to Stephen Robinson, to get such a good result with a Motherwell tribute act, he's done no bad.
That's true, actually. It is.
It's very occasional that the tribute act is better than the real band. So
you should have his players. Declan Gallagher, Curtis Main, James Dunn, Charles Dunn. He's to have his players there.
Was there not at one point in the season that the St Mirren starting lineup had played more games for Motherwell than they had St Mirren? Or something?
Yes, aye.
Anyway.
There's a goalkeeper on that, Trevor Carson, that was Motherwell keeper. I know, wasn't it? Aye.
Yes, aye.
Jeez.
Right, Regan, let's move on to the topic of the day that you wanted to discuss. So bear with me, guys. It's a bit of a mouthful here, but I'm going to do my best. So the sale... where are we going? Right. Celtic have secured permission to sell alcohol in a family-friendly area set up to improve the match day experience, despite the objection from Glasgow's Health and Social Care Partnership. All right. This has been permitted after there was a 5-game. They did a sort of trial with 5 different games. Most recently, I think, was the Ross County game back in November. So this is what they had to say on it. Okay, so the club is planning to use the Lower West stand at Celtic Park for pre-match activities between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. when there is a 3 p.m. kickoff. Fans will be able to buy a pint after the city's licensing board approved changes to the premises license, with the application following a 5-game trial with the club, which the club described as a success. The sale and availability of alcohol has been subject to strict conditions for over 40 years in Scotland after a riot at the Scottish Cup final in 1980. A health and social care partnership spokeswoman said that the stadium is an area with alcohol-related harm significantly above the Scottish rate, and she suggested that a family-friendly space is not a suitable environment for the sale of alcohol. Dan Hutchison Greens put forward a motion second to Bailey Thompson Kerr, Conservative, to refuse the application on the grounds of improving public health and protecting children and young people from harm.
Goodness.
But it will be a family-friendly area for a pre-match entertainment and hospitality with activities for children, including face painting, which we will pay for, by the way, and photos with the club mascot. The club will make sure they pay the face painter. The spokeswoman also said that there needs to have a conversation about the association of sport and alcohol, but there was no police or public objections to the application, and Mr. McGowan said Police Scotland, who always have presence on match days, had shared advice during the trial period. Now, personally, I think it's totally fine. I mean, how many times can you go? You can go to the cinema, you can go to the bowling alley, the bowling like bowlplex and all that, and buy a pint, be surrounded by children also playing bowling and on the arcade stuff, and there's no any issues there. I don't see why the spokeswoman has such concerns over the safety of children, of adults in a family-friendly area having a pint. I don't even know if you're allowed to have more than one. It's not specified that. Regan, you might know better than me, but to make out like this is going to cause harm and chaos in a family friendly. I mean, this whole thing about football, you as a responsible adult, decent human being can be trusted to have an alcoholic drink anywhere but on a football stadium. As soon as you put on a football top and go into the stadium, you become a delinquent and you're not trusted to with alcohol. I think is, for something that happened, people's granddads were getting involved in, and we're still punished for it today. I think, am I right in saying that it's only football? Is it only sport that you can't enjoy alcohol in Scotland?
Yeah, rugby, you can buy alcohol at the game for Scottish rugby.
So obviously, like Chelsea, anywhere in England, down south, you can drink. So you're not allowed to take it into the stands, but you can have a drink in the ground, up in the catering areas. So I'm all for it. I think it's the right move in the right direction, Phil.
I would say so. I mean, a lot of people coming in the comments here and just backing it up there about, like, in England you can buy a drink at the game. Say other sports, it does feel a bit like football just gets picked on for something that happened in 1980. As long as it's done in a safe environment, then I don't see what the big issue is at all. I'd be more concerned with the way Celtic this season have performed with their prices. It'd probably be like £10.34 for a pint, because they round it up to the very penny when it seems like the food at Celtic Park is like £5.17 for a hot dog. I was like, what did the 17 pence come from? It's right to the penny. So I'd imagine what the horror of a price of a beer at Celtic Park would be. That'd be more worrying for me.
Really, you're probably allowed as many pints as you like, but you're only willing to pay for one. So
pretty much.
I know you're only willing to pay for one, so you'll be fine. You're only going to have one at these prices. But Regan, people go to the pubs before the games. They drink on supporters buses. They get, some people get absolutely leathered before they step into a football ground. So whether you're able to buy a pint in the ground in a family-friendly area, or you go down to the local just outside the grounds and have a fair few with your pals before the game, like, is it a concern for you that we're allowed to have now a pint in a family-friendly area in the grounds?
No, I think it's just politicians being politicians, just telling you what they think and not actually seeing any sense in the actual idea. The fact that they've had to wait 45 years to put a stop to this is crazy for me, because, to be honest, you probably start up more trouble with people getting more intoxicated by doing it in their home before they go out. Like, most people are drinking 2 bottles of Buckfast before they go to the game. Majority of them already intoxicated. before they even step foot into Celtic Park. So surely the best idea is that they get the bus to the game, they have 2 pints, and then they go and watch and then they go and watch the football game. But no, I think it's crazy, and I think it's time that football stepped up, because I think the majority of people are sensible, and I think the majority of them know.
Those that aren't going to behave in grounds are going to not behave regardless whether they have a drink in the stadium or a drink outside. And that is a minority of people. There's always going to be a minority of people spoiling it for everybody else. And that's just life. In all aspects, there's always a minority of that causes a problem. So long as the majority of people, which they are behaving themselves and there for the right reasons to watch and support the team, there should be no reason why you can't enjoy a drink in the ground. They've been doing it in England for years with no problem at all. In fact, it makes it a far more enjoyable experience that you're not feeling that you're being treated as a second-class citizen that's sneaked a drink before a game, or you've been able to go in and have a casual beer, watch a game that's on elsewhere first before going in and enjoying watching Celtic or whoever it is that you want to watch.
Keep in mind as well that England have had a much more checkered past with football hooliganism. Say the whole decision around that was made in 1980 around what happened at the Scottish Cup final, and it's been in the Wales. But see, through the 80s, nobody was worse in European football for hooliganism than England. England are still they sell alcohol within their grounds anyway. So yeah, it seems a bit like against Scotland, just kind of holding themselves back with some of these decisions. See, if it's done in a safe environment, when people aren't allowed to just buy endless amounts of alcohol and get absolutely blitzed. But if it's done controlled, I don't see any massive problem with it.
Totally. If it helps to put the police and stop searching for you sneaking drink into the ground, then all they'll need to be worried about is people sneaking in piesports.com that they've got for 12.5% off due to the Bus 1888 code, because they're far cheaper than the price the pies that you're getting.
The only thing they're worrying about is ED Pharmacy, making sure they can go all night long.
What's that you've got in your pocket there, Regan? What is that you've got in you're trying to sneak in there? It's in your pocket. It's a dangerous weapon.
Well,
it's just a little blue tablet from ED Pharmacy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on that note, before this podcast stops being dignified, we shall wrap it up again. Nice segue, Paul Diet says. Absolutely, mate. This isn't my first rodeo anymore, mate. How many episodes have I done? Guys, what a pleasure it is to have you guys join me every Sunday brunch time on the Sunday Blether, the dignified Sunday Blether. Phil McGinley, what is happening next week? Any news? Have we got anything lined up? Was there be a show tomorrow? Do we know? Is there a show later on today?
We don't know. Russell's keeping us in mystery because he's not gave his opinions yet on the game, so I don't know. I know Steve alluded to last night maybe Russell will want to do a Sunday sesh. He might not. Who knows? He'll keep you guessing.
Well, that's why you need to like and subscribe and share and hit that notification bell, because you'll know.
You will know, David. And are we going to get the judge back next Sunday? Because I'm missing him this week. I
know. Regan, the judge is busy at the minute. He's got a lot of things going on, which is we're all busy people. We've all got lives. So it's a nice wee conveyor belt of when the judge comes on and when you come on and when Phil. This is what the beautiful thing about the bus is you never know who's going to be on and what's to be said. I'm sure we'll be recording another Judgment Day. We need to be a bit more organised and get the post up and allow you to get the judges' questions in so we can have plenty to work.
I'll tell you something big that's coming up this week. Tuesday night, Tuesday ticket. Jonathan Boyce could win sudden death.
Yes.
Is Russell going to get a point back to prolong it and take it a wee bit further, or is Jonathan going to wrap up the title on Tuesday night? He's in a position to do it. He needs one win.
Wow.
So that's big.
That is big. I'm getting shivers. I'm getting the goosebumps. Look at that. The goosebumps. Look at the goosebumps. Yeah. Never mind Man City overtaking Arsenal and putting them to the title. It's all about the Bhoycie brothers. Who's going to win?
We need a WrestleMania 17 style promo.
Like
video with Limp Bizkit my way on it.
In the back, we'll get Limp Bizkit on.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, get on that, Phil.
There we
Forget
go.
about the bragging rights for Alibaba. It's a bragging rights for the Bhoycie brothers.
Well, that's it. You know, if Jono wins, and then Bhoycie just decides to, I don't know, just turn up and give him a slap, who really gets the bragging rights at the of the quiz? You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, let's wrap this up. Enjoy your Sunday, guys. Remember, we'll get those bragging rights back soon enough.
We will.
See you next week.
Catch you later.
See you then.
Well, you've all that stuff at the start. You know, they won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now. And you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.